Yeah,
It's
but
like,
what else can you do? You're talking about a situation you have no control over. So that's like saying, oh, the weather today, it's rainy. Oh, that's gonna, like, how can I change the weather? You can't change the weather, is what I'm saying. You can't change your support overstaying or recalling at the same time as you. So it's more about you as the player adapting to how your support is playing. So if they recall late, well, you can ping them, you can tell them to recall, but if they still stay for the plating and then end up dying, well, then when you get back to lane, you just have to adapt to, okay, they got to kill back in lane. But hey guys, before we get into today's profile review, if you're interested in getting your own profile review, just like the one you're about to watch, please check out the links in the description below. Let's get into it. Harry, and I don't really understand, I guess, the issue you're having of like playing passive. It's not really an issue that's affecting your win rate. So
yes,
can you
it
explain
is
it a bit
true.
more?
It is true, but it's not always true. I mean, the last 20 games on the how can I say that? In the last 20 games, I had like 5 to 10 games with a friend of mine who mains support, and he is really cracked out of his mind. He is
Yeah.
really good in support, and he was doing the right things that set me up in lane to win the lane because he was able to create plays that were winning us the lane. And then if we win the lane, we take the tower, and once the tower is taken, we go to mid, and it is easier to impact the game on mid lane for an ADC and a support. But the fact is that I was passive, and he was playing the lane, and he was winning the lane. But it's not always the case, and I don't want to rely too much on somebody else, too much on my support being good to climb up. I would like to how can I say that? Be able to win even though I'm not playing with a good support.
Yeah.
Um, and when I'm not playing with a good support, or when the lane is even, the fact is that we don't take the tower, so mid laners don't understand why we go to mid, and they are like, um, they don't want us to go mid, they want to stay mid, and so it's not good. We stay on bot lane, and nothing really gets up, and support doesn't really roam. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'd like, and I try to full ping or something, but it's not really working.
Okay, so the first thing is yeah, you're right. You're gonna get supports that aren't as good as your friend, and they're gonna really decrease the quality of the game and the ability you're able to have. The impact you're able to have to win the game. So that's something you will have to learn to deal with, and it sounds like something that you're struggling with. The first thing I'd say is, yeah, in bot lane, you can really only play as aggressive or as passive as your support is. And so you basically have to match your playstyle for that game with your support's competency levels,
Okay.
particularly in laning phase. So if your support clearly doesn't know what they're doing, well, then your objective is just to stay back, farm as much as you can, play as passive as you can, and don't let them get kills. Try and deny as many platings as possible, and just focus on getting farm and surviving for mid-late game.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, right, you can't make that support play better. You can't make them play worse. You can't really make them do what you want to do if they
Okay.
literally just, that's not their play style.
Uh, and that's kind of the reason why I really like playing Aphelios,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the reason it uh get get me to gold,
Mm-hmm.
because even though you do not play the leading phase with Aphelios, you will have impact later on because you will have so much damage. So
Yeah.
and people don't understand Aphelios correctly, so you can try to sneak some damage when they do not expect it.
Yeah. Exactly. And so that's really the solution to that issue is, yeah, you can't really be expecting, your support friend, he seems like a very good player. You can't be expecting your other supports to be as good as that. So really it's not so much about worrying about their play style and, how bad it is or how good it is, but it's more about adapting your play style to theirs, because at the end of the day there's two of you in that lane, and if you're both playing different play styles, it's generally going to end in disaster.
Yeah.
So
The
that
the
would be the
fact
key
is,
thing you need to learn.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. The key thing to learn is adapting my playstyle to my support. But the fact is that whenever I'm not playing with my friend,
Mm-hmm.
um, the majority of the support I get do not understand the triangle
Yeah.
principle
Yep.
in lane. So either me or them are getting poked the hell out of the lane, you know. Um, and the another thing is they don't necessarily understand the how can I say that, the principle of the timings, the roam timings, the vision timing, these kind of things they don't understand it, or even the reset timings, because there are times where we get the double kill or one kill on the bot lane. I push the lane. The lane is under the enemy turret, and I start my recall, and my support doesn't want to start his recall. He is going for plates, and enemy bot lane comes back, and he dies because he didn't reset. And so the advantage we got by winning the lane in itself, we lost it because he gave them the kill back. So
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
what else can you do? You're talking about a situation you have no control over. So that's like saying, oh, the weather today, it's rainy. Oh, that's gonna, like, how can I change the weather? You can't change the weather, is what I'm saying. You can't change your support overstaying or recalling at the same time as you. So it's more about you as the player adapting to how your support is playing. So if they recall late, well, you can ping them, you can tell them to recall, but if they still stay for the plating and then end up dying, well, then when you get back to lane, you just have to adapt to, okay, they got to kill back in lane. But you also got to remember that if they kill the support, they haven't spent that gold yet. So you're still ahead 2 kills compared to the 1 kill that they just got. And so in the very specific example you used, well, it's not actually a disadvantage because you're still 2 kills up and they've got 400 unspent gold from the kill.
it's true.
But that's not really the point. The point is, coming back again to what I said earlier, is you just need to learn how to adapt your play style to your support
Yeah.
skill level. And you also got to remember that you're not the only one getting the bad support. The enemy team has just the same amount of chance, if not more, of getting the worst support, because sometimes you're duoing with a support, right? So
Okay.
the concepts and struggles you're saying you're struggling with, the enemy AD carry is also struggling with. So again, that's why it's so important to be, if I can adapt better to a bad support than my enemy AD carry can, well then over the length of a season, over 50 games, maybe there's that 1 or 2 games where your support is just so bad and the enemy support is so good. It's a lost game. You can't do anything about that. It's like the 33-33-33 rule, where 33% of your games you're basically going to win as long as you're a human and you're tapping your keyboard and you're clicking your mouse. 33% you're going to lose no matter how well you play, no matter what you do. You've lost them. And then it's that 33% where both supports are kind of even. You're a similar skill level to the AD carry, and it's those key moments in the game that you can actually impact and have influence over. So
Okay.
the issues you're having are, yes, they're a variable that affects every single AD carry, and therefore if you can deal with a bad support on average better than the average gold player can, well then you're setting yourself up for an advantage. And that's the mindset I'm trying to get you to shift on, is not just going, oh, my support's bad, they keep doing these things, but going, okay, well, how can I play with this support? Because it's going to set me up, maybe not for this game, but maybe in the long term, of understanding how to play with the worst support.
Okay. So kind of like accepting the fact that some games are lost, whatever I'm going to do.
Yeah,
And
and don't do it like, oh, this game's lost, I'm going to tilt or I'm going to give up. No, still use it as a learning environment, because you're there for 30 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. So
yeah, true.
what's the point in
But the fact is that there are some games like that
yeah.
where the game is lost, not necessarily because I lost bot lane with my support, or
Yeah.
not necessarily because my support is good, but because the game just like shifted, you know, there
Mm-hmm.
was in my history, like not long ago, there was like a Yorick top, I
Yeah.
think, and like it took T1, T2, T3 at 20 minutes, okay, and
Yeah.
at 20 minutes we were like no, more like 15 minutes, and we were like end of laning phase, and I had to go defend. I won my laning phase, so that was my Xayah game. If you can back
Oh,
scroll
this
a bit.
one.
Xayah game, yes. So uh, at the end of the laning phase, I was like really far ahead my opponent, and at the end of the laning phase, the Yorick was hitting like T3, you know, at the T3,
Yeah.
and so Kale wasn't able to do anything against him, so I kind of had to go against him to defend, to depush, but then uh, I'm like how can I say that? We can't win anything because we can do objectives. We and the enemy team had better team in general. So overall, it was hard for just the team to do anything on the map because we had no control. And I was like, I can do something. My game is just like ruined because of one action. And I reviewed the game. I watched the replay, and I was like, yeah, everything went down at this exact moment, and it is um, out of my control. And um, on the moment I reviewed the game, I was like, yeah, I couldn't do anything. But in the game, it was like so frustrating, you know, because I was like, I can win it. I am so far ahead. They don't have any chance. We play as a team. I can't lose, but but that wasn't the fact, and it tilted me out. And like I alted for my replay, alted for the game, and I went to bed to do something else. Even though on another day I could have done like 3 to 4 more games, you know. But this particular game was like I was like, yeah, whatever. Let's go
Yeah.
do something else.
Well, that's really good. I mean, that's so one of the next biggest issues with players is the mentality and how they approach losses in games where they've played well, yet they're still going to lose the game. And so there's strategies you can do where you like never play more than 2 losses in a row. You take breaks. So like for example, what you just did there, that's the perfect example of exactly what you should do after you're tilted from a game, is take a break, go to sleep, go do something else, and then come back to the game the next day or in a couple of hours after you've cooled down. And the idea is that it won't save that game. That game was lost, but it's going to save your next 2 games or your next 3 games where you're not coming back tilted. You're not already
Yeah,
frustrated.
understand.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like that Yorick, that Anivia, that Jinx, they're not in control of your emotions. I know this going to sound a bit hippie stuff, but at the end of the day, you as a person can choose whether you get angry, whether you get sad, whether you, take it as nothing, whether you get happy, whether you find it funny. Like,
Yeah,
it's really up to you how you react to a situation like that. Like, no
yeah,
one
it's
else
true.
is making you get angry. No one else is making you get frustrated. It's just yourself getting angry at something. And it is annoying, right? Because you just wasted, 22 minutes of your life playing a game where
Yes.
you were playing well, but, your team was losing the game. But at the end of the day, you probably learned a few things in that game. It's also very impressive that, you can play so well in a game that seems so kind of doomed. So when you look at it in again terms of long term rather than short term, we'll go, okay, we lost this game, but in the grand scheme of things, losing one game like this or one in every 5 games like this or whatever, the enemy team's going to have the same chance of getting games like this where you've got the Yorick and they've got the Kale.
Yeah.
And so
And I'm kind of trying that mentality, you know, but sometimes
it's
it is
tough.
hard.
Yeah.
Um, Particularly when the game is like even, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm a bit ahead of the lane or a bit down, whatever. But I have tons of damage, and somewhere else on the map my team lost, and the enemy on the lane is bigger, you know, he's more powerful.
Yep.
So we came out to phase where we have to play as a team, like Drakes or Nashor or
Yeah.
some kinds of things. We have to play team fights, you know. But and I type it one, and we do one team fight, we win it, but we overchase, so people dies. Then we do another team fight, but we don't win it because the enemy got to me, and and I don't have a game in particular in mind, but like they rushed on me, they killed me, and we have no damage because I'm the damage dealer. And I type in the chat like, just play for me or just peel me, and it's win. I have tons of damage. I can just shred them. Play for me, please, and we win it. And people don't understand, and like I have the impression to not even talk to humans because they don't want to understand it, and they don't want to like progress as I want to, you know. I'm not
Yeah.
like trying to.
You're too controlling. You're trying to control things. Again, you're trying to control the weather. Like, this is why I'm trying to get, this is the 20 minutes we've been talking about. You're trying to control something you can't control. And in reality, it's better to control how you react to that rather than you trying to tell 4 people on your team how to play the
Yeah.
game in chat. Like, how are you going to tell 4 people how to play the game in chat? So the first thing is, like, I mute chat. I've had chat muted for 2 years. You do not need chat, and you should not use it because it's either going to distract you, tilt you, or make you think that you can teach 4 people in 10 minutes how to play the game around you.
Okay.
Or it's just going to make them think that you've got an ego, or this fucking AD carry wants everyone to play around him. Like, fuck him, I'm not going to do that. Like, the solo queue mindset is so toxic and so unpredictable that strategies like that, where you're trying to influence 4 other people's mindsets in a game where they're all strangers, some people are tilted, some aren't, some are playing bad, some are playing good. You're just never going to be able to rally people. You can't possibly be like a leader or a captain in a game like that where everyone's feeling different. So again, stop trying to change the weather. Go back to, okay, my team, I died really early in that team fight. Okay, well, what could I do for the next team fight? And again, it's probably not ideal and it's not how you want to play the game, but it's like, okay, well, maybe I've just got to play even safer for the next team fight and delay my engage even longer and wait for them to engage. And maybe that never happens, and maybe you just lose team fight after team fight, but at least you're trying to adapt to the situation because you cannot change those 4 people and how they're playing. It's just too hard. You're giving yourself an impossible task, whereas the task of you actually going, okay, I'm going to play safer or smarter or try this in the next team fight, that is something you can actually have real impact on.
Okay. So basically like adapting, understanding that some games are lost, but still playing them. That's already what I'm doing. Yeah. Playing them even though it is lost in some ways, and like trying to gain things from them anyways. And in the last point, like understanding that people are not necessarily trying to learn the game as I did, because I mean, I watched a lot of things. I watched guides, I watched games, pro games, challenger games, whatever, and I'm trying to apply the things I saw in them, the basics, but also like macro or these kind of things. But people do not necessarily are not necessarily capable of understanding it, and it's like frustrating because I'm like, it is a good call, it is the good thing to do, but we don't do it because they don't understand. So
It is frustrating. It is frustrating, but knowing the right thing to do and then having the ability to adapt based on the situation. So it's theory and practice, right? Just like in school. You've got the theory that's like perfect, right? In a vacuum.
Yeah.
This theory works perfectly when they do this, I do this, my support does this, their enemy support does this. And that's what those videos are doing that you're watching. People are playing near perfect League of Legends, and everything's very predictable. You're playing in gold solo queue where
It's true.
understanding the theory is really important, but what's more important is once you know that theory, applying it to the difficult situations you're in where, oh my
Yeah,
god, I've got an unresponsive support. Well, okay, maybe I can't hard push this wave when I want to, so instead I'm going to freeze it. Doing stuff like that, and you almost like hypothesis tests, kind of like in science where you've got, I think when I do this experiment this result's going to happen. You almost have to start doing that in your gameplay. It's like, okay, I just spent 60 minutes learning wave management, cool, let's bring it to my gold game. Oh shit, it's not working. Okay, what can I adapt? What little thing didn't work? Maybe I have to review that game and figure out, oh shit, this is what went wrong. Okay, cool. Next game. Apply it again. Okay, I got to tweak this, I got to tweak that. And eventually you'll have this like encyclopedia in your head of, I know what the perfect wave management is in the perfect world if I was playing in Challenger. But I've now played 30, 40 gold games and I've adapted that playstyle each and every time to those situations with good supports, with bad supports, with good enemy AD carries, with bad enemy AD carries. By getting camped by an enemy jungler or having a jungler camp me, and
yeah,
you'll eventually build an understanding of, oh, this is what I do in this situation, this is what I do in that situation, and you
okay,
simply just haven't played enough AD carry games to build up that knowledge base. So everything you're doing right. You've just again got to keep applying it to, okay, I am playing in gold 4 solo queue where I don't know what my enemy support's like, I don't know what my ally support is like, so I'm gonna have to be flexible and adapt what I've learned with videos and experiment a little bit. Don't coin flip
yeah.
or limit test, but experiment, going, should I freeze this wave, or should I hard push it, should I do this, should I do
Kind of
that?
like, a die and retry,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
exactly. But make sure you're actually actively thinking, because
Yeah,
autopilot is the biggest enemy of
yeah, for sure,
people.
for sure.
Yeah,
Not in game. I mean, like die and retry is
yeah,
something like
yeah. Like yeah.
like
Sorry.
in a rogue game, like in Dark Soul.
Yeah,
You are dying, you retry.
yeah,
But in game, it's more like game and next game
yeah.
retry, like with
Exactly.
a variance or something.
Exactly. And again, it's not that, like, again, we don't look at League in singular games. We need to look at it over 20
Yep.
games, over 40 games, and that's how you measure progress, rather than, like, because this game, 2-6, for example, like, it could have been completely out of your control, but if you're focusing on that game for the rest of the day, well, it's going to affect
Yes.
the next 4 games, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And so then it turns into, 1 game loss streak turns into a 3 game loss streak, turns into a demotion, turns into like
Yeah.
this massive tilt in my head. Am I good enough? And then you go on this like mental downward spiral, and then all of a sudden you're like,
Yeah.
Aphelios is a shit AD carry. I'm gonna play Yasuo bot lane. And like
Yeah.
you start doing these irrational things, and then everything collapses, and it's like a vicious cycle of bad thing after bad thing. So yeah,
Yeah. Bad decision after bad
you're
decision.
thinking about it exactly right now. We can't control the
Uh,
weather, and we can't make situations perfect, so it's all about adapting.
okay. I just have one question,
Sure.
and then I'll let you talk as much as you want. The fact is, no, no, no.
No, I know,
Respectfully,
I know. It
respectfully,
sounded funny, don't worry.
I'm sorry. I'm not native, so I'm trying to do whatever I can.
No, it's hard to offend
Like,
Australians. It's fine.
okay. Uh, so I kind of I know my mechanics are not perfect, but
Yeah,
I objectively think I will never be totally objective because I'm talking about myself.
yeah.
But I still think I am better than most gold ADCs in terms of mechanics. I just have one question then. Um, the most important thing in League, as you're saying it, I mean, if I can take your words, it's more like adapting than like being better than the enemy. Like being better than the enemy will help you win games that are even, like 1/3 of the games. But adapting will help you win even more of them, right?
Well, it depends on your skill level, right? So I based what the most important thing is for you based on your current win rates on AD carry, which are pretty good across like your Vayne and your Ezreal. And then I understood the biggest problem you were having was understanding how to play with bad teammates. So clearly, if you're winning most of your games, but you're still having this issue in your head mentally that I don't know how to play with bad teammates, well, they're kind of the two problems you got to fix. And so the adaption play style is what you need to work on because you are better than the average gold 80 carry. So you don't need to work on that skill, or you don't need to see that as an issue. Maybe once you get to plat or high gold, you then need to think, oh shit, I'm actually not better than the average gold 180 carry. And then you pivot what you're learning to being like, oh fuck, I've now got a one trick because I just can't keep up. The gold 180 carries are too good. So what I'm going to do is narrow my champion pool and really focus on one or two champs so I can catch up.
Yeah, probably. It will probably happen.
Yeah. And the biggest thing I like to call it is just being better than average. And think about average as not the average League of Legends player, but the average player you're playing against. So in Gold 4, am I better than average? A really easy way to see that is what is your win rate over 40 games? What is your win rate over 20 games? What is your win rate on this particular champion? Because, for example, maybe your Kai'Sa is worse than the average Gold 480 carry when you're playing on Kai'Sa, but when you play on Vayne, oh shit, I've got a 63% win rate. So my Vayne at Gold 4, I'm a better Vayne, but my Kai'Sa isn't as good. And thinking you're a better 80 carry across every champion is what's dangerous, because people just think, oh, I can play Kai'Sa, oh, I can switch to Sivir, oh, I can just play Zeri now. And in reality, well, maybe your Zeri is at like a Silver 3 standard. And so that's when you get to, if you're wanting to keep learning new champs and stuff, you split your gameplay between two accounts. You have your main account, which is for climbing. So you're playing, I wouldn't want to see your Kai'Sa on this main account ever again. I wouldn't want to see your Yasuo. I would only want to see like your Vayne, your Ezreal, maybe your Sivir or your Xayah. Aphelios seems like you're doing quite well recently on, so that's good. And then you have your second account for, okay, well, I really like Kai'Sa, but I'm currently playing her at a Silver 4 level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on my Smurf today on Sundays or once a day. I'm going to play 2 ranked games and I'm just going to learn Kai'Sa at a slightly lower rank, Silver 2, Silver 3. And I'm going to see if I can get a 60% win rate on her over 30 games, over 40 games. And then you bring her to your main account. And that's how I want you to then... Sorry, I kind of went beyond your question, but that's kind of probably going to be your next focus area.
I totally understand. Like, the main account is for champs, for picks I know I can win with, and then I have to switch to the other one if I want to try out or play something to like how can I say that? It's like bars, like there is a level to have to win in gold or in every rank.
Yeah.
And if my win rate is above 50% or 60%, it means
I would say at least 55%. Yeah.
55%.
Yeah.
I'm above the level of the rank on this champion, on this particular champion. But if I'm not above the level of the rank, for example, my Kai'Sa, I have to train it somewhere else.
Yes.
Like get all the mechanics and then come back and see if it worked and everything.
Exactly right, because your main account, you're wanting to get this to diamond. So right now you're wanting to go from the top 30% of players to the top 3% of players. And if you're spending 30 games at a 44% win rate learning Kai'Sa, well, you're actually going backwards, right? And so that's why you split your games so that when you get into your main account games, yes, you could get a bad support. Yes, you could get an inting jungler, but at least you're playing your highest win rate champion and you're in the best mood. You're not tilted. You've just eaten or you've just had a coffee. Like you're playing in the most optimal mindset as well as you're playing your optimally best statistical champion. And the idea is that we're now eliminating all the variables that go into your performance before you even click the queue up button. Because that's really important. There's what am I doing before I queue up? So what am I in control of? I'm in control of my mood, when I play, how tired I am, what champion I'm going to play. And then once you're in game, well, that's when you have to start going, okay, I got to adapt to a bad support. I got to adapt to a bad jungler. And so there's almost two ways to think about climbing is it's in those two phases. Before you queue up and then in game. And we need to be perfecting both of those if you want to be seriously trying to get to diamond, which is the top 3%.
Okay. But the fact is that my win rate on Vayne is pretty good. You pointed out, and I think it is because I do you know Panda? It is a streamer, a French streamer.
Oh yeah.
Who is playing Vayne? He's top 1 Vayne in US.
Nice.
One trick, I mean.
Yep.
And I watch him play like every day. Just doing stuff, playing LoL or playing League of Legends or anything, you know. But I think that necessarily I understood the principle of the champion by watching someone really strong on it to play it every day. So maybe do it. I mean, like Vayne, I do not have like a lot of games on Vayne, and I never really played the champion a lot. But like I understand the principle of it. Like it is an ADC, but it is like played a bit like an assassin in some ways. I don't know if you see what I mean.
Yeah, because she's quite aggressive, kind of like Kai'Sa. When you go in, you go in. And you're very push forward, whereas like Jinx and Aphelios, you're very like kite backwards. Ezreal,
yes.
Yeah, you're almost playing backwards, whereas Vayne and Kai'Sa have to go in. Yeah, I get you.
Yes. And like yeah, that's the principle of the champion. I learned it without playing it, but playing it will necessarily help me understand some things. But do you recommend like watching somebody that is like hardcore player on one champ and like impregning myself with I don't know if it is the word exists.
Yeah. I get it. Like imprinting their play style into you. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. Again, it comes back to your goals, right? You're trying to get to diamond, top 3%. What's the quickest way to get to diamond? It's one tricking, right? So if I was you, I would say I'm going to one trick an AD carry, and I would pick Vayne. It doesn't actually matter which AD carry, because every AD carry you can get to Grandmaster Challenger on. There's a one trick for every single AD carry. So what I'd be focusing on is two things. Which champion do you have the most fun on, and which champion are you performing the best on? And combine those two questions. Find the champion that fits those two questions the best for you personally, and then go about that learning style that you just described, where you find a one trick, you watch them, you absorb what they're saying, how they're playing, what they're doing, and then you apply it to your games. And you keep rinse and repeating that. And then once that stops working, well, that's when maybe you actually need a coach to sit down with you one-on-one and review your games with you. Or you have a friend who is a higher rank, who is a good on that AD carry, or who is just a good AD carry, and you go, I'll buy you lunch if you review my game for me or whatever.
Yeah.
And you set up a system like that. So that's what you're eventually going to need to move to, maybe around like Gold 1, Plat 4. But yeah, I think Gold 4 to Gold 1, that strategy you just said, where you find someone who's good at it and you just absorb and learn from them and then implement it into your gameplay, is completely fine.
Okay. Perfect.
Cool. Yeah, we should wrap this up because we've gone over 30. Yeah, that's really all I'd say. I think you're really on the right path here. You're a good AD carry. I just think you need volume of games now. Now that you've kind of switched a lot of roles and you've got this goal of diamond, well, now you've actually got to apply your strategy to meet that goal. And what that means is you really just got to play volume of AD carries, cut out your Kai'Sa, play her on a Smurf until you can prove to yourself that you can get a good win rate on her, and focus on these champs that you've got good win rates on.
Okay.
And eventually you're going to hit like your natural skill ceiling, which I said might be around Gold 1, might be around Plat 4, and that's when you're going to need an intervention like a good AD carry to review your gameplay, or a League of Legends coach to review your gameplay.
Yeah. I was like, so I know I went ahead of myself, but I was like, how can I say that? Having the idea but not realizing it yet. To get coaching from Vega V2 for
Mm-hmm.
ADC. But the fact is that I don't know if I know he is a really good coach. Like he coach pro player, he coach a lot of people.
He's
But my
expensive, isn't
question
he?
is, yeah, he's a bit expensive. But my question is there a good coach for ADC in particular? Because Vega V2 is coaching for everything. I would like someone that is like
Yeah.
concentrated on ADC.
So I've got a challenger AD carry that does coaching for me at the moment. For my AD carry clients.
Okay.
So what I can do is I can send you his booking link, but he's like 40 US a session, so a lot cheaper than Vega.
Okay.
He plays the champions you're saying he coaches the champions you want to learn. He's also a really good Kaiser as well if you say wanted to learn Kaiser.
Okay.
So I think, sorry, when I said you might not need coaching yet, if you want to get coaching and like it'll definitely accelerate your path and stop you
Yeah,
building
for
bad
sure.
habits. But I was also just saying if you don't feel like you're ready for coaching, well then wait till you start hitting that plateau. But yeah,
I think you're right. I think I'll try to hit platform
yeah,
by myself.
yeah,
And if I can't, then I'm gonna take coaching. If I can, then I'm gonna try and push myself up. Like whatever. Maybe I'm good for plat 3, plat 2, like
yeah,
whatever. And if it's the case, then it's better for me. I would not have to spend anything.
yeah,
But if
exactly.
I can't, then if I'm stuck or like really stuck, then I'll try to reach out to somebody.
Yeah, for sure. And what I'll do is I'll send you my booking link for my 80 carry coach, but I'll also check in with you maybe in 1 or 2 weeks, and we'll see, are you progressing, are you stalling, and then we can look at going, okay, well maybe you need
Okay,
coaching
perfect.
sooner than later.
Okay, perfect for me.
Awesome. Right. Well, good talking to you.
Thank you
I
very much.
hope I helped. It
Yeah,
feels like I answered a lot of your questions you were struggling with, which is great.
yeah, that was like really helpful. Like I understood what I do wrong and what mindset I have to get in when I'm launching the game. Not like I can't control everything, and I don't have to be tilted because my team does something wrongly.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
exactly. Awesome. Well, we'll talk soon. Have a good night, get some sleep, and I'll check
Yeah,
in
yeah,
in
perfect.
about a week or so.
Okay, perfect. See you.
Cool. See ya.